Congressman Self, welcome back to the program here. There looks to be some resolution, or at least the beginning of it, over the Greenland situation. The U.S. is going to station missiles there, get more access to mine minerals, and NATO is supposed to have a larger presence as well. That's the framework for the deal they're trying to work out. But what kind of damage do you think was done to NATO and to our allies during all of this?
Well, I think it will pass because this is President Trump's, this is the way he does business. He plows the ground and people get upset. And then he says, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we have an agreement? And they come around. So they'll get over it because, frankly, we still spend the majority of NATO defending Europe. We have the power projection capability that they do not. So we'll continue to have a great relationship with NATO and Europe.
Based on what's happened so far here, do you think the Greenland situation is over with?
Well, it depends on how the agreement actually is settled out. And I think that will tell us a lot about how Denmark and the rest of Europe is feeling. So let's let it play out a little bit and see what happens.
Does anything concern you with this agreement so far?
Well, I don't know a lot of the details. And again, I say, let's see how it plays out. Because in his very first statement, he said it'll be for the long term, which told me we're not going to own it. It's going to be, I don't know, leased, simply given access. I don't know how it's going to look. But I'm very curious to see what kind of agreement Europe came to, because they realize how important, how strategic Greenland is. And knowing that, then they need to come to some sort of agreement so the U.S., which has the capability of doing what is needed there, could do it. So I'm optimistic.
Here's what strikes me about Greenland. It's a NATO ally. We've always had a base or bases there in the past. We've had access to it. I don't understand why all of a sudden that we needed to have complete control of it, and why this thing is the hottest thing since sliced bread all of a sudden.
Well, because you see some changes. First of all, the critical minerals. Secondly, the trade routes that are now going through the Arctic, and they're becoming very important. And thirdly, the Golden Dome. Because when you look at a map that has the North Pole in the center of it, you see how important it is, because any missiles coming in will go over the North Pole. So it now then completes the line that we need for Golden Dome, because we're going to have look. The Golden Dome is based on the Iron Dome, which is a tactical system, but the Golden Dome is going to have to be a much longer range, much higher altitude. So it's going to be different. That's why we need Greenland for that defense using the Golden Dome.
But couldn't we put missiles on our bases there and work that out separately, as opposed to increasing the volume and the temperature the way it has been?
Obviously, President Trump wanted more access. He wanted more certain access to Greenland. And frankly, the military bases was the issue. How many military bases we're going to need there, I don't know. But that was one of the sticking points. That's why we needed more control.
Let's stay up north here for a moment. I want to ask you about Canada, one of our largest trading partners, obviously. It has now set up trading alliances with China, which we all saw. Are you concerned that we're closing the door on China, or at least closing the door on Canada, or at least sending it towards Asia?
Well, this is a knee-jerk reaction. That's the way I put it, Jason, because it's a knee-jerk reaction because of what they feel President Trump is his actions. But look, I don't think Canada is going to want to do long-term business with China, be deeply in bed with them, because everybody knows the China model. They come in, they take control, they steal, they scale, and then they strangle your market. So there are many ways that China is not good for Canada to do business, but we'll see. Again, I think it's a knee-jerk reaction that will settle out over time, because Canada and Mexico, our closest neighbors,
Sure.
are huge trading partners. Do you think they're going to have that same trade with China? I think not.
You mentioned it's a knee-jerk reaction, you thought, but Canada said the same thing. The prime minister saying, "Listen, we're concerned about the erratic nature of tariffs from the White House."
I understand. That's part of his reaction to President Trump in this Greenland deal. But again, they're one of our largest trading partners. They're a member of NATO. They do not want to get into either a commercial relationship or certainly a defense relationship with China, because China is the adversary of the Western world today. And China or Canada will get past that. Absolutely.
I want to ask you about something the Energy Secretary said. It said the U.S. is not going to offer any security guarantees to oil companies that the administration wants to invest in Venezuela. That kind of struck me because I'm thinking, if I'm an oil company here in Texas, why in the world am I going to take a chance in Venezuela again if the U.S. is not going to offer any type of security?
Yeah, it's a fair point that you make, because the oil assets have been nationalized by Venezuela once. Could it happen again? Absolutely. But they will make their own decisions, because now they have the opportunity to invest in Venezuela, which has a huge amount of energy resources. They'll make their own decision. They'll make their own decision as to whether or not they want to invest, how they want to invest, where they want to invest. And that's the way the market works. But I think that it'll be very attractive to get that Venezuela oil, which fits our refineries. The heaviness of the crude fits our refineries very well. So I think that it will be very attractive. We'll see what they decide.
Let's talk about Minneapolis for a moment. We've all seen the masked agents pulling guns, stopping people at random, asking for papers, even local police officers up there. I'm curious if you support these tactics.
Well, that's a leading question. That's a gotcha question, and I probably won't answer that. What I do support fully is ICE enforcing federal law. Tactics are up to the executive branch, and I think we are going to have some hearings on this. But
what are the hearings?
I do.
I'm sorry, Congressman. What are the hearings on?
How the ICE is operating, how ICE is doing, how successful they're being, because the executive branch has put out a whole list of the rapists and murderers that they've policed up in Minnesota. Now we know that the Somali environment up there, the Somali people in there have been shipping out suitcases full of money. I guarantee you that's U.S. taxpayer money. So there are lots of things for us to go after in that environment. Look, it's become, we know it's kind of a cesspool of corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse. Let's get after it. This is what people see. If the local law enforcement will not support ICE, ICE still has the federal law that they must enforce. So how do you do that if the local police and the politicians up there are not going to support you? It's going to take stronger measures. And that's what we're seeing up there, to enforce federal law. That's the issue. So when you have rapists and murderers being policed up by ICE, when you have suitcases full of U.S. taxpayer dollars going out of country to terrorist organizations, we have to stop that.
There's also no denying, Congressman, as you well know, that they're stopping people who aren't rapists and murderers who are actually on a list. They're stopping people at random, police officers and everyday citizens, separate from the agitators. And everyone agrees, get the bad guys out of here. But stopping people at random, which there's videos everywhere that's reporting all about it, for trained federal law enforcement officers, I'm just curious, is that something that you support, whether these tactics are right or not?
I wish that we had a complete list of everybody we wanted to police up. We knew exactly where they were. We know exactly who they were. We knew exactly why we were going to arrest them. That list doesn't exist. They have got to go in and find those people, especially when the politicians, the elected officials, and the law enforcement won't support them. They are making this harder for ICE. We just got to realize that. They are not supporting law enforcement in that city. That shows you how corrupt the city is.
Nationwide, I'm just curious, why do you think ICE agents wear masks and don't show their faces at all?
Because they're getting doxxed. So they're getting their homes and their families put on the internet for the agitators to go after them, for them to be put in harm's way. That's why. We have an example of one of the well-known people, I won't go into it, was doxxed, and now he is having to hide. That's why. That's the situation that we now have in Minneapolis. Federal agents are being put in harm's way if they show their face, because then they get doxxed. The internet cuts both ways. So
Oh,
when you
yeah.
go on the internet, you are in harm's way.
Let's discuss the federal budget for a moment here. Funding for the federal government expires at the end of the month. A lot of agencies have already been funded in a bipartisan majority. The flashpoint looks like it's going to be Homeland Security because of ICE operations that Democrats are opposing. Do you think that agency is going to get funded here in the next few days, or is this headed towards a shutdown or a showdown?
I think it's going to be funded today. I will be surprised if it is not. We have the vote at about 4 p.m. Eastern this afternoon.
Is everyone going to be there, do you think? I mean, it was razor thin earlier today, wasn't it?
Well, I know that Steve Womack is here, and his wife of 40 plus years just died. So Steve Womack is here. That's how important this vote is this afternoon at 4 p.m. He hasn't even buried his wife. Steve Womack is dealing with a heavy load, a wife of 40 plus years that has passed away. He's here doing his job. So I expect it to pass this afternoon. I know that we will need every Republican to vote for it. Look, that's not my real issue. It's the other package of the two bills that I have to tell you, there are some awful stuff in there. I'm going to be voting for DHS. I'm going to watch the board, but I'm going to be voting for DHS so that we can get ICE funded and continue to enforce federal law.
What are the other agencies you're concerned about that you have issues with?
Well, it's THUD, it's a couple of the other departments, and frankly, we've got what I've been saying today is we're doing the best we can. That's what people say. We're doing the best we can, but when we continue to fund transgender and abortion, when we've got things in there like we've got a kill switch on your car that if the authorities don't like what you're doing, they simply shut your car off. Things like that. I think we're going to fix some of them. I think we're going to fix Arctic frost, which where the senators, we passed the bill this afternoon, as a matter of fact, where the senators just voted themselves money from the public treasury if they were surveilled. Look, insider trading is one thing, but voting yourself direct dollars from the U.S. Treasury is a different matter. We took the vote today. It's going to be put in the package that goes to the Senate. In fact, it was a unanimous vote. That doesn't happen very often in the U.S. House of Representatives. So my saying is, if we're doing the best we can, if we continue to do the best we can, in quotes, pretty soon the Republicans are going to own every Biden policy, because that's how the best we can do.
Last question here, Congressman. President Trump just completed his first year of his second term, and poll out. The New York Times Siena poll says that less than a third of voters think the country is better off than it was before President Trump returned to the White House. Obviously, the third that supports him are the Republicans. Curious what your thoughts are on the last 12 months of President Trump.
We've had some great things that we've done. I mean, a lot of it just doesn't get talked about. The one big beautiful bill just now is kicking in. The credibility of the United States around the world. The inflation rate from Biden was 9% inflation rate and almost 8% in home mortgage rate. I call that the misery index under Carter. Remember the misery index under Carter?
Sure.
Well, right now, we've got inflation down around 3%, maybe a little bit less. Home mortgages are under 6%. So we've cut that misery index in half in 1 year, of a 4-year term. So those things don't get talked about, but the credibility around the world, both the Midnight Hammer in Iran, the Venezuela operation shows we are reestablishing hard power around the world so that they understand what we're doing. Greenland will be a tremendous benefit to America when they work out that agreement that we were just talking about. So yeah, there are some great things that have happened.
And polls show affordability is a major issue here. What would you tell political independents who are the ones that decide the elections?
I think the economy will be a big deal, and I think we've already seen the green shoots. We just talked about the inflation rate and the mortgage rate. So we also have seen eggs come down. But, we have to understand that it takes a couple of weeks to make a chicken, takes a couple of months to make a pig for pork. Beef takes a whole lot longer. We always hear about the beef prices because it takes a year plus to get beef to the market. So it'll take a while. The U.S. cattle herd is at the lowest it's been in a while. It takes a while to build that back up.
Congressman, always good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.